Hello, Mind Mappers, and welcome to the video. Today we're going to be going over No Sweat by Segar PhD, how the simple science of motivation can bring you a lifetime of fitness. Now, as a personal trainer in a past life, I really enjoyed this book from a fitness perspective. But even if you're not super interested in fitness and health and that sort of thing, I think this book is going to be good for you because there is a lot of information in here that's not talked about in other books around the science of motivation, how to get yourself to be motivated to do a certain thing, how to approach certain new habits or routines that you're trying to pick up in order to make sure that you're going to be able to sustain them for a lifetime, which is definitely what we are looking to do on the channel. With that, let's get into the introduction. I've got a quote here that I believe gives us a good overview of what we can expect to learn today from No Sweat by Segar. There's a mountain of information out there about health and fitness, but most of it is just not working for people. And I'm sure that a lot of you probably know this already as a personal trainer. I definitely know that. It was not the most informed clients that I had that were in the best shape. That's almost always not the case. And in fact, quite often the people who were more informed were in worse shape. I wrote this book to help you understand the science-based reasons why it's not your fault that you've failed to stick with exercise and other health-related behaviors, as well as to give you a new, simple framework for sustainable success. Opportunities to move and enjoy physical movement are quite literally everywhere, and I hope that the information and practical approaches in this book will enable you to find them, choose them, enjoy them, and use them to energize your life for a lifetime. And again, just like we talked about in the introduction, what I pulled out from this piece of the book was why, with so much information, is it still hard for us to stay healthy, fit and healthy? More information might lead to more knowledge, but it doesn't necessarily lead to more wisdom. And this is where I can see the connection not only with fitness, but in also many different areas of our life. Essentially, this thread is pulled through all of our lives nowadays. Currently, we have more information now than any other time in history, accessible right at our fingertips, of course. Why then are we unable to execute on things that we say are important to us? Whether it's habits, whether it's goals, whether it's fitness, why are we not able to execute on these things that we say are important? Well, of course, there's this difference between knowledge and applied knowledge. There's also a difference between applied knowledge and wisdom. This book is all about health and fitness, but it's about so much more. It's about bridging this gap between knowledge, applied knowledge, and wisdom. It's about how to take what you know and put it into action. It's about what you need to do to take information and truly make lasting change with it. That's really what this book is all about. So, what motivates us to choose healthy behaviors? That might be a question that you ask before you start reading this book. Dr. Segar is an expert on this topic and has a really refreshing approach, a simple framework for sustainable success with health and fitness. And I think that's really what we're looking for as well, right? In multiple different areas of our lives is, okay, I can get myself to meditate for 3 days. I can get myself to work extremely hard, long hours for weeks and weeks at a time. But how can I create a framework, a simple framework that's sustainable for me that will lead to success in whatever I'm trying to do? Inside this book, we're going to learn exactly that. Why it's so easy not to stick to our healthy behaviors. Why it's so easy not to stick to our habits or our routines. How to design our environment to stay healthy or to make sure that we're doing the things that we want to be doing. And the mindset that you need to be successful for the long term in almost any area of your life. And that's one of the main things that I loved about this book was just this switch from short-term immediate gratification to how can we use short-term immediate gratification but make it last for a lifetime. With that, let's talk a little bit about mind mapping. You can get the most out of the mind maps by following along. You can also find the process of how I mind map plus all 50 plus mind map templates, including this one, at the link down below. You can also get masterclasses on topics like mind mapping, on learning, on habits, on goal setting, all at themindmapguy.com or at the description down below. Following along with this mind map and those masterclasses will help you learn more, remember better, and apply these books to your life. Our first big idea here from No Sweat is immediate. And this is exactly what we were talking about before with this immediate gratification idea. As it turns out, research shows that Even reasons that sound very sensible and important may not lead us to the results that we're seeking. Some years ago, my colleagues and I conducted a study in which we examined the impact of people's reasons to start exercising on their actual involvement in exercise. We first asked participants to state their reasons or goals for exercising, as I just asked you. Then, to uncover their higher level reasons for exercising, we asked them why they cared about obtaining those particular benefits. My colleagues and I found 75% of participants cited weight loss or better health, current or future, as their top reasons for exercising. Now, checking in, what's your reason for exercising, or what's your reason for trying to accomplish whatever we're reading this book for today? The other 25% exercised in order to enhance the quality of their daily lives, such as to create a sense of well being or to feel centered. Then we measured how much time they actually spent exercising over the course of the next year. The answer may seem counterintuitive, but it's true. The vast majority of the participants whose goals were to lose weight and better health spent the least amount of time exercising. So the people in the 75% group ended up doing it 32% less than those with other goals. Think about this for a moment. Our most common and culturally accepted reasons for exercising are associated with doing the least amount of exercise. So, getting into shape and being healthy, they're associated with exercising less rather than exercising more. How can this be? It feels like a paradox. The reason why you exercise, to me, is the most important factor in whether you'll exercise or not. But why is this true? Turns out, human beings are hardwired to choose immediate gratification over long-term benefits. When we try to make decisions that will help us in the future with no connection to how we feel today, we struggle. Think about this. Often, we don't save enough money for retirement because we spend our money today. People smoke even though they know the long-term benefits to relieve stress in the moment. Often we eat too much right now without thinking about the long-term effects that this might have on our body and our health. So, with all of this information, we know the effects of each one of these quote unquote bad habits that we might have. Why then are we continuing to make the choices for the moment rather than for the future? And it all comes back to this. We're hardwired to choose immediate gratification over long-term benefits. So, really, the question that we need to be asking is how can we connect our desired behaviors to an immediate gratification? So, we want to stop smoking, we want to save for retirement, we want to stop eating so much right now. How do we connect that to immediate gratification in the moment? Instead of coming up with the vision of what you hope to accomplish at the end of the year, at the end of the decade, connect your desired behaviors to instant gratification right now. So, exercise helps me clear my mind, and that's why I do my exercise. Eating a healthy lunch keeps my energy up so I don't crash in the afternoon. Meditating allows me to be calm instead of anxious. All those are examples of connecting the action that I want to do to the moment. So instead of having this grand vision of what you want to accomplish, well, not instead of, in addition to having this grand idea of what you want to accomplish, it's really good to connect the action to how it's helping you in the moment. Our next big idea I've highlighted here in blue because I believe it's one of the most important ideas of the entire book, and I called it gift. You may think I'm crazy here. Here I am, a professional in the health field, and I'm asking you for now to forget about health as a factor in your motivation. But I don't ask lightly. I ask because I don't want you to fail or fail again. If you fail, it doesn't matter how good your intentions were when you started. Right now, let's really pin down your personal meaning for exercise. This is what we talked about in immediate gratification. When you think about exercise, does it feel like a chore that you have to do? Or does it feel like a gift that you can't wait to open? Let's look at our own personal meanings here. Do you feel like whatever activity you're trying to do, whether it's exercise, whether it's working harder, whether it's meditating, whether it's communicating in a relationship, whatever it might be, do you feel like it's a gift to do that thing, or do you feel like it's a chore? Do you feel like every time you exercise, you're dragging yourself into the gym or you're dragging yourself to the basement to do your workout? Or do you actually look forward to it? At the end of the day, are you looking forward to doing a little bit of exercise? And it doesn't just need to be for exercise. Remember, we keep coming back to this. But what's your personal meaning for work? What's your personal meaning for meditation? What's your personal meaning for things like reading or learning? Assigning a meaning to each one of these activities that you want to do changes everything about the thing. That is right. You get to choose the meaning, right? So this is what we're talking about here, right? Of course, up here we talked about, okay, I want to do this, I want to do that. We have 1-year goals, 10-year goals, lifetime goals, all those sorts of things. But we get to choose whether we have that as a meaning or we have in the moment as a meaning. Don't exercise because I need to lose 10 pounds or to look better naked. That's not empowering you in the moment. It's not linking it to your instant gratification. Instead, we want to exercise because it makes us feel good afterwards, and we want to enjoy pushing ourselves and seeing how far we can go. We want to really tap into how it's going to help us in the right now, in the immediate versus in the long term. These little meaning switches are everywhere in our lives. Here's an example of how I think about work. Think about work and all that comes along with the word. When we're sitting down at our desks, when we're clocking in at the factory, wherever we're working, we often dread it. Monday comes along and we're afraid to go to work, we're anxious, we don't want to be there. But what if we turned work into play? What if you made it so that when you're at work, you tried to have as much fun as possible? Of course, you're going to do your very best to get some of the work done that you need to do, but what if you connected your work to fun? What if you connected your work to play? And if that doesn't work for you, what if we use a quote from Brian Tracy that the best way to get things done is through love? What if you really connect to the people that you're working to serve at your day job? How does that affect your personal meaning when it comes to work? Does it feel more like a gift that you get to be able to work and serve these people rather than a chore to go to work and serve the people that you don't really care about? That's an interesting shift on mindset and shifting from the mindset of chore to gift. Our next big idea is more of a fitness based one, which is OTM. Finding opportunities to move, OTM, throughout the day is surprisingly fun. You'll be amazed at how soon you begin to become aware of the free spaces in the day that present themselves in the surprising places that are conductive to movement. You may think that your day is crammed so full that you can't fit one more thing in, but believe me, it's not true. If you've got 1 minute, you've got time. This is a beautiful concept for me. Often we think we have to go and work out for an entire hour and it has to be super hard and we have to sweat a lot. And it's fine. You've got more than an hour worth of 5-minute blocks that you're looking at your phone in your day or that you're just kind of surfing the internet. If you don't have a full hour, you don't have to string together one full hour to get your workout done. Here are some examples. If you're going to the grocery store or going to work, you can park a little further away and get a 5-minute walk in. Take the stairs instead of taking the elevator. Take a 5-minute dance break and blare some of your favorite music. That's going to help you increase your mood and get a little bit of exercise going too in the day. Or you could do what I do and do walking meetings. Every meeting that I take, I try and make it a walking meeting if it's applicable. That way we both get a little bit of exercise while getting all of the benefits of the meeting done at the same time. One thing that I love to look at with clients, coaching clients, and also with my personal training clients back in the day are what are your downtime activities? So this doesn't necessarily have to connect directly to exercise, but in other words, what do you do when you don't have anything to do? What do you do when you're bored? What do you do when there's nothing on the schedule for you right now? Most of us will fill it in with scrolling on social media now more than ever. But what if we repatterned that? There are dozens of small breaks that we have in our days where we literally have nothing going on. Each of those breaks could be a dance break, a reading break, or a breathe break, whatever healthy habit you're trying to incorporate into your life. Could be a 5-minute long exercise break if that's what you wanted to do. How about you? Let's look at it. What are your downtime activities? Recently, I've been extremely busy at work, so I haven't had very much time to read and make videos. I'm still trying to commit to making 2 of these videos every single week, and that takes a heck of a lot of reading time. Now, instead of reading for an hour in the morning and an hour at night, I read every time I get 5 minutes. I use that to read the book that I'm currently working on. The funny thing is that I actually feel that I'm getting more out of the books this way. Instead of a 1 hour chunk 2 times a day, I'm doing maybe 10, maybe even more 5 minute chunks in the day. And I feel like that's the way that my brain wants to learn. Small chunks at a time, I'm able to focus more deeply, more effectively for a 5 minute chunk than I am for an hour chunk. Something to think about. Of course, we're talking about exercise here today and no sweat, but you could also do that with many different habits in your life. Our next big idea is called cycle, which is actually the front of the book, of course, a bicycle. The successful cycle of motivation starts from the right why, your right why. So it's not necessarily that you have to have the same right why as everyone else, but you need to find your own, the one that works for you. Now you're choosing to move for more relevant and compelling reasons, and also choosing physical activities that give you immediate positive feedback. Again, we keep coming back to that immediate positive feedback. Walking for 10 minutes gives you more energy. You're enjoying being in the present moment when you swim. Gardening makes you smile. You're sharing stories and laughter with your close friend as you work out. Physical activity feels like a gift now instead of a chore. It's now a want because you reap rewards like fun with your family, focus at work, and feeling centered. It's the gift that keeps on giving, and you don't want to stop it. So you find that you can repeat these experiences anytime you like, and this motivation becomes self-perpetuating. You feel better because you are moving your body in ways that you determine for yourself, and you naturally want to keep moving. So, success in anything, what I'm taking from this quote is that success in anything is self perpetuating. So, really, what we want to do is create this cycle. And I love the idea of the cycle. When you start with the right why, you get an immediate benefit from doing the action. And then, because you get that immediate benefit from doing the action, you end up wanting to do it again. Instead of kind of smashing yourself against the wall, starting with the wrong why, wanting to lose 10 pounds, feeling bad about yourself, pushing yourself into exercise, we get this immediate gratification. We just love doing it because we have fun doing it, or we're smiling while we're gardening, or we're sharing stories, and etc. That's the success cycle. And that, of course, is what we want to create. How do we make sure we're on the cycle of success instead of the cycle of failure that so many of us feel like we're stuck on? Number one, we need to start with your why. Don't draw your motivation from something in the future that we've talked about before, like losing weight, running a marathon, or being healthy. Instead, we want to try and drive our motivation and draw our motivation from instant gratification. Things like clearing our mind, feeling accomplished, or connecting with others. So let's set up this exercise cycle in our own lives. First, let's start with our why. Why do you want to exercise? Look between these two different types of motivation, this kind of extrinsic motivation that happens sometime in the future, and then this internal motivation that leads to instant gratification. Try and do your best and switch to this intrinsic instant gratification if you can. Next, let's look at OTMs that are already available in your life. Can you walk to work? Can you start an exercise class? Can you take up gardening or another hobby? Finally, let's do something that we don't do often enough, which is celebrating our wins. When we actually accomplish what we want to do, let's give ourselves a real, true pat on the back instead of saying, well, you could have done more, right? If your only reward for doing the exercise that you want to do is that you need to do more exercise, of course, that's not going to set us up for the positive cycle. That's going to put us into the failure cycle. Our next big idea is number one, something we've been talked about quite a lot inside of my habits course and inside of all the books that we've been reading on habits. Based on the two most important daily self-care needs that you've identified, which self-care behavior do you think might be able to help you realize those two self-care needs and experiences? Is it sleep? Is it physical activity, meditation, reading a great book, or taking a bath before bed every night? You might not know now, but you can start experimenting to find out. Take the self-care behavior you think it might be and list it as your foundational, non-negotiable self-care behavior at the bottom of the hierarchy. Don't worry, these hierarchies are not set in stone and they can change whenever we determine that another self care behavior is more foundational to our daily self care needs, which also change whether it's day to day or whether it's week to week or month to month. But really, what we're talking about here is what's your number one behavior, or as called in the habit books that we've been reading, what is your keystone habit? The one thing that, should you do it, makes everything else quite a lot easier. First, we say here, let's look at our self care needs. What are the things that you need most in your life right now to continue to bring your best self to each day? Do you need sleep? Do you need exercise? Do you need meditation? Do you need reading? Do you need to watch Netflix before you go to sleep? What is your self care thing? What is the thing that you need the most? Try and identify your top two priorities in your life right now. Really, what you want to look at is when I have a good day, these couple of things happen. That's really what we're looking at there. Now let's find one behavior that leads to both of those. What is one behavior that when you accomplish it will serve your most important self-care needs? If you need some help, what is the one thing that if you don't do it, it means you're less likely to have a good day? When you get it done, you know, okay, my day has started out either right, or I know that I'm on the right path at the very least. So what's the one thing that if you don't do it, it means you're less likely to have a good day? Really think about that. Once we have that behavior, we need to make it non-negotiable. We need to make that the keystone. We need to make that something that we do every day, no matter what. So again, what is your number one non-negotiable behavior? What's the one thing that you have to do every day to make sure that you're going to have a good day? Let's write it down. Make it easy and make sure you've got your why in the right place. Here's an example from my own life. My number one non-negotiable self-care habit is morning meditation with my coffee. It keeps my mind clear all day so that I can make better decisions moment to moment. This is something that I don't miss. Even if I sleep in, this is something that I do. It's that important. Even if I feel like I'm going to be late for potentially something that I have on the horizon, I need to take that meditation break because I know when I do show up to the meeting, I will be in a much better place and I'll be able to bring my full self rather than being my self that was late and missed his meditation. Our second last point here is all about learning and the learning mindset. With the learning mindset, setbacks and failures don't enter the picture. We've talked a lot about this in my learning masterclass and in books similar to this one, like Mindset by Carol Dweck or Make It Stick. They are naturally reframed as opportunities we can mindfully learn from. The first time a child touches a hot stove, she doesn't consider herself a failure. She simply learns not to touch the hot stove again. She adds that bit of learning to her lifetime store of knowledge and then moves right on to something else. In this mindset, we're not sapping energy by adding up our failures, but fueling ourselves with more positive energy that comes from figuring out new ways that we can do things. We discover strategies and build skills and resilience that we can cause when inevitably encounter new challenges in the future. And it can even be fun because we get to be creative when we devise novel ways to negotiate with our challenges. So, are you adding up your failures or are you letting them take away from you? That's generally what we're doing when we're trying to accomplish something new or learn something new, right? We're adding them up and we're taking note of all of our failures. Instead of viewing each failure for what it really is, which is a learning experience and nothing more, we attach some kind of judgment on ourselves if we fail. And we act as if it's not, expected, right? We act as if we should be perfect right away, which of course is extremely draining and energy consuming. That's not how we stay on the success cycle that we talked about before. By continuing to pass judgment and blame on ourselves for not doing exactly what we set out to do, we make continued success impossible. Even if we come from the right why, we're still constantly beating ourselves up. We're going to ruin the mini wins that we need to sustain the cycle. Focusing on achieving outcomes won't help us sustain our success. Instead, long-term success necessitates focusing on learning to sustain the behaviors that create our desired outcomes. Learning redirects us from achieving arbitrary goals to engaging with learning goals. Mastering new tasks, such as learning how to be active for 15 minutes on most days, is a good first step. So instead of thinking, where did I fail today? Think about, what can I learn today? Or what did I learn today? Instead of taking your number one self care habit and judging yourself if you don't accomplish it, take the challenge to learn how to accomplish it. Take the challenge to learn what you need to best set yourself up for success. If you don't get it one day, examine why. Think of ways that you could overcome it the next time and learn from that entire experience. Our final point here today is all about small. I think this is probably one of the most important points that I pulled out of the entire book. I absolutely love this idea, this small idea. If you're going to learn how to balance physical activity within your life, the most strategic thing you can do is create small, realistic plans that you can more easily learn how to navigate. For example, mindfully choosing to add even one additional 5 minutes of physical activity into your everyday, if that's all that you feel you have time for, will slowly build a foundation that you can fit it in. And when you understand how to do that small amount consistently, you can think about ways to fit in just a little bit more. Creating lifelong behavior here is your goal. So your focus needs to be on learning how physical activity can fit and stay in your busy life. And that's not an easy task. People who join a gym and start out with modest plans to attend just a couple days a week are more likely to keep coming and stay members than those who begin with grandiose plans to come every day during the first couple of weeks. If you're seeking a lifetime of fitness, it's important to stay smart and to start small. Creating lifelong behaviors in almost anything is our goal. We talked a lot about fitness inside of this book, but of course, careers and business are all included in this. It's best to start small and build upon the behaviors that we're able to do consistently. Everything we've spoken about today is important. The why, the cycle, the number one thing, and the learning mindset. But it can all feel like a lot when you're just getting started. And that's why we need to start small. Instead of coming up with a perfect plan after watching this video, like some of you might already have in your head, come up with an imperfect, easy, and realistic plan. Something that even on your worst day, you know that you could do. Spend your time perfecting small before you set out to build. Start small and forgive quickly is my advice to you here. Starting small is of course very important, and I know it's changed my life in a lot of different ways. But self-compassion and forgiveness need to be a part of the process as well. Even if you start small, you're going to miss sometimes. Days have a way of getting away from us. When that happens, the game should be, how quickly can I forgive myself and move on? Not, how brutally can I beat myself up again so I never want to do that same thing over again. That's a really important idea. I think that you should go over it multiple different times. This was No Sweat by Segar PhD. I want to thank you for being with me here today. And if you're interested in more masterclasses around habits, around learning, around goal setting, you can find all of those at themindmapguy.com. And I hope to see you in the next video.